I'm Natalie Fuller. I'm the Head of Customer Marketing and Communications at Cashplus Bank. I think with the introduction of Consumer Duty last year, there was a huge step forward in raising the bar for what is actually expected in customer experience for financial services. And so a big part of that was how it's not just enough to design a journey where you are delivering or you're saying you're delivering good outcomes. It's actually what are you doing to be able to validate and show and demonstrate that you have actually delivered a positive outcome for your customers. And so that was 6 months ago when that went live. And so the focus, I think, at the moment really needs to be on how are you embedding it into your ways of working, into your processes and the culture, so that every single person within the business is able to understand how they themselves can ensure good customer outcomes. And if they potentially see an opportunity where there is detriment for a customer, what are they doing to be able to escalate it so that it can be, size scoped and prioritized as needed. And I think when you're doing that at scale, that's quite a complex task. And so I think that's definitely a big focus for customer experience at the moment. Similar, I think vulnerability is another area that we really need to focus on, especially it's such a broad and complex topic. And with the cost of living crisis coming through and with Consumer Duty, we really need to think about how can we ensure that our journeys are designed so that vulnerable customers are also getting good outcomes as well. And this needs to be front of mind for everyone. And when it's such a complex topic, it's part of the cultural and education aspect as well, so that people within each of their respective roles actually know how they can help vulnerable customers and the different aspects of vulnerability as well. I think digital, as we move more and more towards digital experiences and sort of the human touch becomes sort of less ingrained into the day-to-day, especially sort of in banking where, you've got branch closures and sort of, the digital challenges are becoming more and more prominent. I think how you're designing a journey and how you're working in the human touch at the right points to ensure that customers are supported where they need to be supported is really important. And then the last one, and I think this one, is one of the big challenges is financial literacy. I think is an area where financial services really need to be focusing on how they can support their customer base. So the average reading age in the UK is 9 years old, and 3/4 of UK adults they wouldn't actually pass the financial literacy benchmark. And so how are you actually setting up your customers for success by creating journeys that have good positive friction, are clear and transparent, and actually are supporting them and actually making decisions that help them and create good outcomes for themselves. Yeah, I think for me, this is probably really nerdy, but I was really excited about Consumer Duty. I think from a customer experience perspective, you're always trying to ensure that positive customer outcomes are at the forefront of the people's decision-making process. But obviously, there's always commercial impacts and then complexity, and there's always, different friction within the business where you're trying to sort of put the customer at the heart of everything, but it's not always the easiest thing to do. And when you have regulation coming through like Consumer Duty, which really helps from a customer experience perspective, really put that at the forefront of the business agenda to ensure that you are delivering positive outcomes and you have the SMFs accountable for doing that. I think it's a really positive thing and something that's quite exciting, especially when it creates a framework to help people understand how to think about how you create a good experience that you can push across the business. I think that's something that I'm really enjoying. I think personalization will be it's not new, but I think looking at how you can, understand your customer better and create more personalized experiences, I think is something that is quite exciting, and how we're using data to do that. So, especially when you think about vulnerability and things like that, how are we actually able to create and craft better experiences based on an individual customer's needs, I think is something that I'm really looking forward to doing.